Colts Nation, hold your horses. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, it's another segment of Hold Your Horses, okay? I think that I have to bring another one of these back because last time I think I did this was the last time that the Indianapolis Colts lost a football game, which was just over a month ago. So I have to do another one of these. Before we get into it, though, just want to say this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. Right now, the Indianapolis Colts, 6.5-point favorites to beat the Atlanta Falcons this next week in Germany. So, again, another reason to hold your horses on abandoning this season. But shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this episode. Now, I have to do another hold your horses here, guys, because while a good chunk of the Indianapolis Colts fan base is understanding you lost another game, a lot of teams lost games this week. It's time to try to move on and be better. I think a lot of people, and especially people in our own fan base, are hopping ship or are automatically jumping to the worst case scenario that this team has shown they are just not capable of sustaining this level of success moving forward, and that our season is about to come to a screeching halt because of this game. And then, of course, people on the outside are looking at this and saying, well, there's the Daniel Jones that we remember. This is how the season's going to go. This is what's going to happen. The Colts are on a downhill slump. Hold your horses, okay? Let's understand something, okay? This Indianapolis Colts team committed 6 turnovers in this game. 6. That doesn't happen very often. Very few times does a team commit 6 turnovers. And yet still somehow, some way, the Indianapolis Colts were able to keep it a 1-score game. Now, I obviously understand that when it came down to being almost the middle of the fourth quarter and the Steelers were up 27-10 on the Indianapolis Colts, most assume game is over, okay? The Colts could have just rolled over on their backs, accepted this was how the game was going to end, and just moved on. But no, the Indianapolis Colts went out and attempted to try and make this a game and had a chance to win the game at the very end still. And the Colts did not back down. They found a way to bring it back and did not want this to be the end. They could have easily given up, but they didn't. And they made it back to within 1 score. Even after committing another turnover late in the fourth quarter, still were able to find a way to bring it back to within a score to give themselves even as remote of a chance as possible. They had a chance. So, again, goes to show you the effort is still there amongst the Indianapolis Colts, okay? So this wasn't a game of lack of effort. This was just a game of really bad mistakes, and they compounded throughout the game. I said it in my live stream when I went live earlier Monday morning. If you take away the 6 turnovers, this game, like the Colts statistically beat the Steelers in almost everything. So it wasn't really a case of the Steelers played better than the Indianapolis Colts. Really, that wasn't truly the case. Most of this comes down to the fact that there were 3 or 4 big plays that the Steelers made on us that resulted in turnovers and put the Steelers in great positions to score. We unfortunately got put in that situation. Now, I'm not insinuating that the Indianapolis Colts don't have an opportunity to where they still might falter, okay? But I am trying to tell people to hold your horses on saying that the Indianapolis Colts have been exposed as frauds and that they are not going to accomplish anything further going forward. Okay? Because you still have a game against Atlanta overseas where you are still favorited because Atlanta is not a great football team at stopping the run. They are giving up 117 yards per game to opposing offenses running the football. And then, of course, when you talk about the remainder of the teams that the Colts will have to face, you're going to be facing two teams in three separate games in your tougher part of your schedule that give up a lot of rushing yards as well. So looking forward at what you're going up against, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are the 8th worst team at stopping the run, and you're going to face them twice. The Kansas City Chiefs, who are the 9th worst team at stopping the run, you're going to face them, and you're going to have a game against the Houston Texans, 2 games against the Texans, who are right in the middle of the pack when it comes to stopping the run. So again, you have a lot of opportunities here where the Colts are going to be, their run game is going to, they are going to be better at going against defenses that are not as good at stopping the run. Again, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we just lost to, they are the 9th best defense at stopping the run. So it's not something that teams typically do very well on against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's something that the Colts have an identity of. But again, I just point to you in the direction that in 6 of the last 8 games that the Colts are going to play against teams that are either the middle of the pack or are increasingly worse at stopping the run. So again, I know this Colts team, they're going to have a tough road ahead of them, but let's hold off on insinuating that the Indianapolis Colts are a bad football team or that they can't go through the gauntlet until we actually see if they've gone through the gauntlet. Because remember, one game against a Pittsburgh team that is probably going to still be a playoff team, one bad game there does not take away the 7 other weeks in which the Indianapolis Colts offense looked elite. Okay? If they have continuous times where the offense in this back half of the schedule looks like they can't move the football in the same way, then yes, we have an issue here. But it is the one time, the one game that the Colts offense looked out of sorts. And yet they still scored 20 points. Their quarterback threw for 340 yards. And it took 6 turnovers. And the Pittsburgh Steelers scoring 23 points or 24 points of their 27 off those turnovers to beat the Indianapolis Colts. It took the Colts having a massively crazy game of turning the ball over to beat us. Do I expect the Indianapolis Colts to have another game like that this year? I really don't. I do not expect them to turn the ball over 4+ times another time this season. I really do not believe that. And if you want to believe that, then that's fine. That's your opinion. You're allowed to feel that way. I'm just telling you, hold your horses on the idea that the Indianapolis Colts season is about to come to a halt. They had one tremendously bad execution game, and it cost them. Of course it did. It cost them. But this team chose to understand that it's one game. You lost by 7. You're going to go back. You're going to look at the film. You're going to try to get better from this, learn what went wrong, and correct your mistakes. They understand they're not going to dwell on this. This is one game. You are still sitting amongst the top of the NFL right now through 9 weeks. And you have a chance to go 2-4 in territory, beat the Atlanta Falcons, and be 8-2 going into your bye. You have a chance for that. And the Colts understand the perspective of the situation they're in. Okay, so don't overreact to one loss. I know it was a truly bad loss, and it was very few teams have ever had to deal with something like that. Okay, it's not very often you see 6 turnovers in a game. I truly get that. I mentioned it before. If the Colts eliminated half those turnovers, this would have been a completely different game. This game would have been down to the wire. So just understand that the Indianapolis Colts, they can fix the issues that they had. It came down to just lack of execution on the offensive line and, a couple mishaps from Daniel Jones, Josh Downs, etc. So hold your horses on saying that this is the beginning of the end. I don't believe it is. So just hang in there, Colts Nation. I know it's a rough Monday, but give yourselves time. Give yourselves an understanding that we can fix these things. The Colts will get back to the drawing board. They'll do what they need to do, and then we'll see what they look like from Atlanta and from after the bye week. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you so much. Thank you for another segment of Hold Your Horses. Let's not press the panic button yet, guys. But shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this episode. That'll do it for this one. Thank you so much. And as always, go Colts.